torture you, filthy fucking casual!
Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today, welcome to our first episode of Filthy Casuals. I know we're doing a bit of a lot of offshoot episodes of the Warp Shelf recently, but this is a true offshoot. This is
Yeah.
We're gonna shoot the shit.
It's more just like subcategories or subgenres, like given the topics that we talk about.
So that
this
way you
one,
know what to expect.
Yeah.
We don't want you to go in being like, is this gonna be more Disney talk? And then we just fucking talk about Star Wars the whole time.
This is a non-soapbox episode.
Yeah, non-soapbox.
Sort of, I guess. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. But basically, we want to give you guys kind of... I know this episode's a day late, but we want to give you guys a look
lax
into what
episode,
a lax
yeah.
episode, an episode where you get to look at what's going on behind the scenes, what we're up to, what's happening in the world.
Basically, what most other podcasts do.
We're basically
We just like to
episode.
focus on discussion topics specifically because it keeps us focused.
Exactly.
Because now you're going to hear what happens when we do go on tangents.
Which is true. It's basically how we do it all the time.
Yeah.
The reason why this episode's late today is because I am moving from Brighton, Massachusetts to Haverhill or Bradford, wherever you want to call it. I don't care. Yeah. And you know, it's definitely going to make some changes to the show, but it's not going to. This will not be like a normal format for the show because of the move. It's just we thought that it would be fun.
Just be relaxing to like not stress about it.
Yeah, not stress about which topic we got to go deep on. But you know, it leads to what have you been up to, Deshaun? What have you been doing?
As you've been seeing me on the social medias, I've been on a
Mod
huge
Karika on Twitter.
On Twitter and the gram. I've been on a huge Metroid kick for some fucking reason.
Some fucking reason. You got the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I got the Super Nintendo, and let's just say I fixed it.
Which is fair. How many games are on that Super Nintendo?
To start.
Not with your mom, with your fixing.
With my
we would
fixing.
never say the M word, Nintendo. Don't worry.
But I want to say there's like 20.
Yeah.
It's a solid library, though, to be honest.
It's not like the PS1 Classic.
The PS1's Classics library was garbage.
Which I didn't mind it. I really don't. I bought it because, first off, Twisted Metal. You got me there. I own on disc Twisted Metal 2, 3, and 4. I could not get my hands on.
And yet they only gave you the first one, even though like every one of the sequels are better.
Yep, they are. And it's not a very good game. But
if
I played it.
if they come out with a PS2 one and it does just as poorly, but it's just as easy to fix, then I will grab that.
Oh yeah, no, I want it to be tiny. I want it to be like this little hand, like the size of your hand PS2, because that first off, that would be hilarious. And second off, they can absolutely run on those things. You see Raspberry Pis run all the time like that.
The PS1 Classic is like the easiest one to break into because they put a USB port on it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, Grant. Done here. Done, I'm in.
But yeah, like I had gotten it, and the first thing was just like, well, this needs a little bit of Chrono Trigger. And then I'm just like, can I put GBA stuff?
Yeah.
Can I do that? Then I did it, figured it out.
Beautiful.
And then I just felt like playing Metroid Zero Mission. It was one of the many GBA games I added. But I was just like, you know what? I haven't played a Metroid game in a bit. Let me play Zero Mission because it's a remake of the first game on the GBA. It's better, and I wouldn't want to play the NES version. It doesn't.
I played it.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it's definitely... I played it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I had, like... shit written down. I had notes,
Yeah, like that's how you had to do it back in the day. It's like the original Legend of Zelda. You just had to figure that shit out.
Exactly. It's like you either find that shit in Nintendo.
With Zero Mission, they actually give you like a waypoint to be like, this is the general area you want to be. The controls are better. It looks nicer, and there's expanded content. Like where the game ends in Metroid after you finish beat Mother Brain.
Yeah,
there's a whole other section in Zero Mission that wasn't in the original. Nice. It's actually where Zero Suit Samus comes from.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't before that?
It's funny. You could tell it's sort of added to the remake.
Yeah.
Because after you beat Mother Brain, you get to the usual, like, this place is going to self-destruct. Make it to your ship to get off. Yeah. And you do, and you're like, all right, we're free. And then out of nowhere, pirates show up, and they shoot down your ship, so you're back on the fucking planet.
on the planet.
So not only is your ship destroyed, but your suit's destroyed too.
Right.
So she's in like the Zero suit, and you have to go through like a stealth section to get like your suit back.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah.
I remember playing. I played Zero Mission. I played pretty much every GBA.
There's just Zero Mission and Fusion.
Yeah, which that's what I was going to say. Fusions is my favorite though.
Yeah, Fusion is good. I'm
Fusions
like
is
in the middle of
probably
that
my
right now.
favorite Metroid. I know I am uncultured, but I do love Fusion.
Fusion's a big fan favorite.
Yeah.
Like, Super Metroid tends to be, like, the real favorite. So, after I finished Zero Mission, I was just like, oh, that was good. I want to kind of keep this train going. So, I jumped into Super Metroid. Had to adjust because of, like, the controls going from GBA to Super Nintendo. And just, like,
A lot different.
how clunkier it is compared to, like, a game that came out years afterwards. So, you're kind of stepping backwards, but also stepping forwards because it's much more expansive.
Yeah.
Then once that was done, I kind of debated myself for like an hour. I'm just like, am I really about to jump into Fusion? Or am I going to like fucking play AM2R or something? And I'm just like, fuck, I'm going to play Fusions.
Yeah.
I think what helps is that they're short.
Yeah.
Because I finished
how long?
Zero Mission was like 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
And I finished Super Metroid in like 10.
That's not bad. That's easy.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it wouldn't be like something if I jumped into...
I don't mind a game that short. Sometimes it's nice to just finish a fucking game. I know people
It's in the
want
same-
content on content, but it's nice to just finish.
It's in the same logic as it comes to like feature film runtime.
Yeah.
It's all about like what you do with that time, not so much like how long it is.
Exactly. Because, like, I mean, there's movies that are 3 hours long that feel like they use every bit of it. And then there's ones that are 90 minutes long, and you're like, can you use any of these 90
Like 2001?
minutes? Yes, like any of
It's
this.
like, what, an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it feels like 4.
It feels like 4. It feels like Das Boot. You're just
Yeah.
like, Jesus fucking Christ, when does it end? But
Watching Return of the King Extended has never felt as long as just watching 2001.
exactly. That's Return of the King's a good example.
Yeah.
Because you could get through that, and you're just like, that was a good...
Every time
3
I
to
get
4
someone to like
hours.
watch the extended trilogy, they like look at the Return to the King runtime like, what do you mean it's like almost 4.5 hours? And it's just like, yeah, but you're going to be captivated the entire time.
You're like,
you're not even going to worry about
Don't
it.
even worry about it. You're gonna have a great
But yeah,
time.
it's just a matter of length. Because if it was something like Hollow Knight, that would be different because that's a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
But I put like almost 80 hours into that before I was done.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's different.
Hollow Knight's a great game. Everyone should play it.
I as a person who does not, I do Metroidvanias, but I'm not one to dive too deep into them. But I loved Hollow Knight until I fell into a deep hole at one point and fell way too deep into the levels, which is strange. But
You're probably not stuck. You probably could figure out a way out, but you didn't
Possibly.
like beat your head into a wall long enough to like do it.
I was just like, no.
It's insane the amount of content that game has
It's big.
when it's only like $15.
Yeah, it really is. It's
That's
worth
why
it.
when people, I remember I had a conversation about this like in my Discord a while back. They're just like, "Oh, guys, Hollow Knight's on sale for like $10. Snatch it when you can." I'm like, "Nah, wait till it goes back to full price. You're already overpaying."
They're like, don't even worry about the sale price.
You're already overpaying
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it
Yeah, it's
with
true.
$15. And that's like that's like one of the few examples I can think of a crowdfunded game with that amount of polish that actually worked out.
That's true. There's
Because when you look at crowdfunded games, the first thing you think of is like your Mighty Number 9s and like other stuff.
yeah, and you even have you have a lot of Advanced War knockoffs that came around because of Kickstarter.
And even the ones that are
I
good,
played.
like A Hat in Time or Solid like
Yeah,
Ukulele.
I like Hat Time, but Hat Time is rough.
Yeah,
It's rough.
even ones like that aren't bad, like Ukulele or A Hat in Time, you still see that like lack of polish.
Yeah.
But like Hollow
I
Knight,
love when you say ukulele right, because when I read it, I just read it not right. Like,
Isn't that
I
just
know-
how you read
I know,
everything?
I know it's, yes, exactly. It is how I read everything, but I never think of that word as ukulele.
I swear you have like some form of dyslexia or something.
Po-
you
possible. Very
just never
possible.
been like officially diagnosed.
I do read words, but sometimes I just read the first letter and the last letter, and then I guess the rest of
You
it.
just guess the middle.
And that's,
Hey kids, who wants to play Guess the Middle?
It's a nice middle, but I don't read. Sometimes I'm reading too fast. That's basically it. I'm just like, and moving on.
It makes me think because I remember my buddy Rob had asked me like, "What does Frank do with like the book that you're writing with some of like your fantasy ass names. I'm like, well, thankfully Frank's only read a bit of the book and he hasn't gotten to like the really weird names yet. But when he does, it's gonna
every
be
time you say
it's
the
gonna
names,
be fun.
I'm like, that's what that is.
You're still in like the first section where it's just like, okay, these are all sort of like Anglo-Saxon, Scottish, Irish inspired names. Wait till you get to like other continents later in the story where they're just like, we went to the continent of Dara, we went to the great tree Talis Ojara, where we fought the Rishoruka, and I'm like, Frank's gonna have a conniption. he's gonna be struggling.
So I will not be the one doing the audiobook version of the book.
No.
Basically it, because I cannot pronounce it.
It would be funny though. What have you been playing?
So with COVID and everything, I have not been able to play my single player games. I don't know why. It's messing me up. It's just because I'm stuck inside all day and I have a problem. I love a game you can finish, but at the moment I don't feel like finishing games.
Mm-hmm.
I want that endless progression because quarantine feels like an endless progression.
Progression or regression?
Grind. Yeah, I need a grind. And so I've been playing a lot of two games. I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, and I've been watching a lot of Overwatch League. I know you don't give a shit about
I really
multiplayer.
don't. But it is interesting to see how hardcore you've become.
It's very interesting. I like
you're wearing the shirts and stuff. You're just
you've
gone full
today.
Manchester United shit.
I know. And with the Boston Uprising, I know no one gives a shit about the Boston Uprising because they are the worst team in the league. But I'm the super fan. I'm it. I'm the guy.
Well, I mean, isn't that the thing with success? Where
Yes.
when they're the underdog, everyone loves them, and then once they become huge and successful and knock it out of the park, just okay, now you're too big.
Now you're too big. Yeah,
Now you just win everything.
They can just win everything.
It's funny
Same
how
thing with the San Francisco Shock. Yeah.
It's funny how fickle people are that way.
It's true. So it started with that I kind of jumped into Overwatch because I needed a shooter. And then I realized what the difference between Overwatch and pretty much every fucking game out there is that when every game says that they're a team sport or a team game, it's not fucking true. You could play Call of Duty, you could play League of Legends and have one guy carry you. Mm-hmm. Fucking take you across the edge. Doesn't matter even if the rest of the team is dead. If that guy's still alive, you're fucking good. Same thing for baseball and a lot of other games. But when you're looking at Overwatch, you literally need to work as a team. If somebody on your team is a weak link, it shows in the game, and it's very apparent. And that's what hooked me, is that I realized how much of a team game this really is, and that it's no longer just oh wow, that one DPS is doing a really good job. It's like if that healer isn't healing, then that DPS can't do its job, and then the tank can't protect the DPS, and it's the reason why I got into it so heavy was that it was just so nice to play something that was really a team game.
Yeah.
And sure, I'm playing on Switch, so I run into people who do not understand that it is a team game all the time, and that is super frustrating. You're just stop trying to 1-6 the other team. Stop running in. You're just please don't go. And then they kill themselves, and you're alrighty then.
I only had a mild interest, a very marginal interest in Overwatch back when it was first being advertised.
Yeah.
Because I loved the diverse cast of characters. I liked the concept. And
it's
I
true.
know, and
I think that's why Blizzard games stand out for two things. Is that they always come with a well polished game. Like Hearthstone. And of course, World of Warcraft
and StarCraft,
and StarCraft. They all come with their own lores, their own universes, their own main characters. And then they also are games where they put a lot of effort into balancing them, so they're fair. And that's very important to me for a game I'm going to be playing constantly. I need them to be on top of their own problems, because of course these are games that are that people find metas and change things up, and it's nice to for the developer to step in and change things occasionally.
But with me, I'm primarily a single player guy, just because I'm already kind of a recluse anyway, and I like to just play stuff on my own. and 2, single player is also more narratively driven.
Yeah, it's true.
Most of the time, so that's what I lean towards.
I feel
and
that.
the thing about something like Overwatch, and I knew it was going to be primarily a multiplayer game.
Because there is single player parts, but
Blizzard knows where their bread is buttered.
Yeah.
But just the like concept and the cast and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, Blizzard, if you really went into it, you could make like a great single player experience.
I'm
with this.
hoping that's what Overwatch 2 is, but we'll see, because playing the story modes in Overwatch 1, you're kind of like, this is just multiplayer, but
It
with
can
robots. You know, like
It can
instead
work.
of it being dynamic.
Everyone was mad about like Titanfall, the first Titanfall not having a story mode.
Yeah.
And then the second one did, and the campaign for the second one was actually really good.
Yeah.
So you're just like, yeah,
You're
just
like,
do it.
It's coming. The other games that I played, I recently picked up the other day just because I wanted another shooter. Of course, I was like, because that's the thing is you play one shooter and you get good at Overwatch. So it's like I keep switching over to other shooters and getting good at something. Like I played Borderlands a month back, and like came back and was a better sniper on Overwatch. And then I'm playing Call of Duty Mobile on the phone because, of course, on Overwatch League they advertise Call of Duty
You
Mobile.
combine my
a bunch.
two least favorite things.
I know.
In
And-
abundance of FPS and mobile games.
And I get that. And that's the reason why I wasn't touching the game for a long time. It's been around forever. Everyone knows Call of Duty Mobile's been out forever. But I finally just dived into it because I watched too many ads of it on Overwatch League. If you watch Overwatch League, it's because it's Blizzard Activision. They're being like, here, fucking take our other games. And definitely this is a mobile game. This is a, it's endless gear and you can customize it, and that's how they get you, is being like, you can get this really cool gear for fucking $5 if you put down $5, or you can get a battle pass. And like, that's the part that I'm like, okay, whatever, fuck it. But the part that gets me about the mobile is how well it actually controls and how well it just feels like a Call of Duty game. You know, like that's what gets me about it, is that on my phone, anywhere, I still get the same experience. Mario Kart, I played the Mario Kart mobile game for a long time, and it's like, it's sort of the experience, like it's like it's the game, but not the game.
That's
like,
been my primary problem, even with official installments for like the mobile platform in general, is that everything is so pitifully watered down.
Exactly, and that's the reason why I feel the Call of Duty thing,
because I feel
is
like
something kind of
look,
amazing.
everyone has a smartphone now.
Yeah,
Like, it's a viable platform, but they're not meeting the potential of it. Instead, we just get a bunch of bullshit.
yes, and like even for or you get gacha games, like that's kind of it, and that's what I kind of love about this Call of Duty game, is that this is the full, for free Call of Duty game. You get deathmatch, you get tons of different modes, you get battle royale, you get ranked seasons, you get
That's good,
everything that
because
you would get in a $50 fucking Call of Duty game.
Yeah, that tends to
for
be
free.
that tends to be my thing of just like worthwhile content.
Yes.
That's why I never really jumped on like the Pokemon Go bandwagon, because like, yeah, the novelty is cool that you're on your smartphone and you can see like the Pokemon out there and you can catch them. But
I was really into Pokemon
I first
Go for
pegged
a while.
it as just like
but
this game from like this decade,
Yeah.
or this past decade, rather now.
oh my goodness.
It's just like, this has less content than Gen 1 from like almost 20 years ago.
That's fair enough. That's actually a fair argument against Pokemon Go.
And that tends to be
I've heard
my
all
issue.
your shitty arguments, but that's probably your best argument against Pokemon Go. Because I don't mind it. I like Pokemon Go.
I mean, that
like
was
catching Pokemon.
I mean,
I
that
like
was
battling
also
with Pokemon, but-
one of my problems with the Let's Go games as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, these are remakes of Gen 1. The GBA remakes of Gen 1 have more content than these games that came out for Switch at full price.
It's true. I really did think that it was kind of fucked up that as much as I had a good time with Pokemon, with Pikachu, with Let's Go Pikachu, I thought it was stupid that we just didn't take it that step further and kind of make it a remake of Silver and Gold, because then you could just go to
like
the
an
Johto
all-in-one,
region,
like,
like
Gold and Silver?
afterward, because like it's like,
Or
it's
even if
cool.
you just made it fulfilling, it just felt like, and Sword and Shield sort of has this problem too, that it was clear that the development started on the 3DS and then just ended up on the Switch and doesn't really take advantage of the console's hardware.
True enough. I don't think it's fully... I think that, yes, they use the Switch hardware, obviously, in Sword and Shield, more so.
The most you see it is, like, in the wild area.
Yes, in the
stuff
wild
like
areas. That could never be accomplished on the 3DS. I'm glad it runs on the Switch. But, like you said, as much as I love that game, and I put, like, 200-something hours into Pokemon Sword...
And you were pretty... The weird thing about Pokemon with you is that when you get into something specific in Pokemon, you're oddly defensive about it.
Yes.
Because I told you from the start, like, let's go Pikachu. And it also shouldn't be full price. You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean it shouldn't be full price? What do you mean it shouldn't be full price?
I bought the fucking Pokeball, bro, and I had a good time playing with the Pokeball.
No, I know that, but like just the full price. I'm like, this shouldn't be $60. What do you mean it shouldn't be $60? I'm like, because it's barely above the quality of a 3DS game, it shouldn't be any more than $40. That's why.
No, it's fair. It's fair. It's like I feel like people now are getting the right experience from Let's Go Pikachu now because it's cheaper, and then they just get the game, you know, like instead of it being $60, they're like, I'm getting it for $30, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where, yes, it should have sat there. I agree. It doesn't have enough content. I played through it, and cool, you can shiny hunt until you're fucking dead, but I don't I don't do that. I did a little bit on Sword and Shield shiny hunted, and I never caught shinies before, and I caught 5 or 6 shinies on Sword and Shield.
My first shiny ever was in Fire Red back on the GBA. It was a shiny Tentacool.
Everyone thinks you're cool.
I was pissed. It was a shiny Tentacool. I'm like, what? Fucking Zubat of the sea.
When did you get your Charizard?
I got the Charmander afterwards.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say your Charizard.
No, the first shiny I ever got was a shiny Tentacool.
Oh, okay.
And I was pissed because it's the Zubat of the sea. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then on a whim, I decided...
I got like a shiny Zigzagoon as my first one in Sword and Shield, and I was like, son of a bitch!
I was bored one day, and I decided I want to start over Fire Red.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in years. I'm going to pick Charmander again.
And then he was
And then I threw him out, and it does the thing where you have like a star spin around its head before it disappears.
Oh.
And it was like yellow. I'm like... Did I just pick a shiny fucking Charmander as my starter? And I knew that it evolves into a black Charizard.
Yeah,
I'm like,
oh shit!
I guess this ain't gonna be a casual replay. I'm gonna beat this as soon as possible and get this Charizard over to my DS games.
Yeah, right.
And I've been subsequently transferring that Charizard to like every generation.
And now he's on Sword and Shield.
It's been from GBA to DS to 3DS, and now it's on my Switch. It's on Sword and Shield.
I love Sword and Shield, but I wasn't grabbed by the DLC at all. It's like talking about content, not, you know, like going the distance. I spent the money on this Game Pass, and I think it's worth it in that they gave you a new story, there's a new gym leader, and there's new Pokemon. And like legitimately new Pokemon, not just like, hey, here's Pokemon that should have been in the game in the first place. It's like legitimately
started on that.
New Pokemon, which I was like, okay, that's where I pay my money. You give me fucking more Pokemon.
It's just everything I've seen from those 2 planned expansions.
Yeah,
just reeks of stuff that like, oh, this should have been in the game already. This probably was supposed to be in the game already.
That's kind of my problem with the DLC, is that as much as it like it didn't grab me, I think the main reason why is because it felt like this should have been in originally. It should have just. And I get it. You got to keep making money off of Pokemon, you know, all year long. So you got to keep some content. You got to keep making money off.
The problem is, like, Pokemon as just a huge property has kind of gotten too big for its own good. So it's one of those things where, like, they have to put out.
I don't think it's gotten too big for its own good. That's like saying Star Wars has gotten too big for its own.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it has. That's how we ended up where we are with the sequel trilogy.
Yes, but we also get Mandalorian. In the age, you can't complain about an age of having too much when we get such great things.
No, it's not about like too much. It's just the idea that you have to, like, it has to be a certain way, and the unwillingness to like try to really experiment tends to be an issue. And there's also a thing where, because Pokemon is such like a multimedia franchise,
but they've been able to experiment.
They have to coincide.
They got Cafe
like
Mix.
I'm not talking about that shit. No one cares about that stuff. I'm
talking
about
Snap 2.
Main series. I am looking forward to Snap 2. That's like the only thing I'm like super excited about.
I know.
But
when I was looking through this, I pre-ordered. I know I shouldn't. We could do a whole episode on why you should not pre-order games unless you are fucking like, I'm going to play that game first fucking day. I'm going to fucking play it right now. You should not pre-order. That's how I feel about it. But I was looking through, but I do, and I was looking through the Switch games. Not many games right now am I like, wow, I'm excited for this game, except for Pokemon Snap 2.
Yeah.
Like, which is kind of sad, and I know there's going to be some really cool stuff. Pikmin 3, sure, cool.
Never really played it, so I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of that series, but
what I mean about Pokemon is just the idea that everything has to coincide. So it's not just as simple as just like, we want to make a new Pokemon generation. It's just like, well, that has to coincide with the new season of the anime because that's coming out around the same time, and we have to make new trading cards for it.
True.
So it's all like this stuff where like it has to come out every couple of years because we have to refresh the brand.
It's true.
And it's gotten to the point where like it's consistently like every couple of years, new gen.
Yes, but it's a good idea because if you don't do that, you end up like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like
true.
If you have to compare it directly to somebody, you obviously have Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they came out similar times, they did similar things, and right now Yu-Gi-Oh's trying to put out cards without an anime attached, without anything really attached.
I'm not sure.
They have some games, but not.
Yeah,
really.
and I'm not sure how like big Yu-Gi-Oh still is over in Japan versus over here.
True enough.
Because sometimes it's like a differential.
True enough. I just think that you could do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Zero.
Yeah,
and that would be modern enough for today's time.
Yeah, and I get like coinciding the property so everything's consistent, but as far as the main series is concerned, if it didn't have all this like weight on its shoulders to coincide with everything else, it could benefit from taking a few years off and like really reevaluating. That's what happened with Zelda.
I mean,
by the time you got to Skyward Sword, they had pretty much exhausted the Ocarina of Time-esque formula, and they were just
Skyward Sword is a pro.
It's just
I would say Skyward Sword is the rise of the Skywalker of the Zelda universe. Wouldn't you say?
It had gotten to the point where like they had exhausted that particular formula, and they're just like, we really need to like. This franchise needs a shot in the arm.
It needs something. And then they're like, what about a train, sir?
Yeah.
and they're like, a train? No, I'm just kidding. They were like...
I actually haven't played Spirit Tracks, so
I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
They were like, hey, can we make him 2D and he goes flat against walls? And they were like, that sounds like a really good idea. And then that...
Actually, sounds like a dumb idea on paper, but when you actually see it implemented
like,
in
sick.
Link Between Worlds, you're like, yeah. You want essentially what is the Link to the Past remake?
I love the Zelda franchise, but that game is some solid.
Oh, Link Between Worlds is so fucking good.
Fucking good. It's like it's the reason why I was kind of upset that we had what was the one on that just came out for Switch?
Link's Awakening?
Link's Awakening. Because Link's Awakening's fun, but it was my first Zelda game I ever played, you know, like on GBA. It was the first game.
I missed out on Link's Awakening. I didn't play like any of the portable Zelda games like until like years later.
Oh, man. That was how I got introduced. And then...
Except like,
then
it doesn't really count, but I played Link to the Past on the GBA port, even though it was originally a SNES game.
Yeah.
But I played like Four Swords because that was included. I would like play it with my brother. That was fun.
That's fun.
But I like missed out on like Oracle of Seasons and Ages, and I'd never really played.
Wait, have you gone back and played Oracle?
I have now.
Ages? Okay,
because
I was like, fuck me, man. Because those are my favorites.
Oracle of Seasons was a pre-order bonus on the 3DS eShop for pre-ordering Link Between Worlds.
That was such a good damn deal.
Yeah, so that was the first time I ever got to play it, and then I didn't play Link's Awakening until I borrowed the Switch version from you.
Yes, which it's a solid game. I do like it, but it's small in some aspects. You know, Link's Awakening is just kind of, even if you're kind of comparing it to Seasons and Oracle, like, you know, like it's kind of small. Similar maps for sure, but it feels
And to be
smaller.
honest, it is impressive when you look at like the original Game Boy version.
Yes.
How they were trying to emulate a Link to the Past like experience on a portable console. It's impressive.
It really is, and I will always say that is one of the better looking Switch games. You know, like I know there's a lot of good looking Switch games, and a lot of people point at the realistic looking ones. They're like Doom.
It's just so cute. Just so cute. Everyone looks like Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Link looks like something you would hang on a tree.
Oh man, I love my amiibo of him. I think he
so
looks
cute.
so good. He looks really solid. You're just like perfect.
But I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we've been a little bit off track, but I've been playing. The other thing I've been playing, and that I play constantly because I said I need the grind. It is a strange one. It's called, and it came out on Switch, but it's on pretty much everything. You can get it on every fucking platform. It's called Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. It's a D&D game, literally sponsored. So Wizards of the Coast, everything, and they use champions from the Forgotten Realms tales to do a. You build a formation, and then they all have skills that connect to each other, and if you place them right in the formation, and it's kind of like the enemies always run towards you, and you just constantly go up in the levels. There's so much better way to explain this, but but it's a game that has captured my time. It's the game that I've played the most on my Switch now, because
you
don't have to look at it.
You have to like hit a button every half an hour.
So when you start playing the game, you have to hold down the B button. You have to do the attack, but that's all you have to do. But then once you get to a certain level, you can unlock these familiars who start automating the button pressing for you. And then if you get 3 of them, they hit all the buttons for you. And then if you get 6 of them, they do a bunch of shit for you. And then if you just keep playing for a long time like I have, and you have 12 of them, they do most of the leveling up of your characters, the progression of the levels for you. So it's a game I can, as I'm doing all my virtual work, I can put to the side of me and not really pay attention to it, and then come back to it in half an hour and level up my characters and then look away.
And you read D&D books growing up, right?
Yes. So that's the main reason why I got into it, is that they were like, you can unlock Desert Urn, and I was like, what'd you say?
Pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Like Driss. Because it's like D-R-I. I think it has an apostrophe.
Yeah.
Z-Z-Z-T. Driss. I have no idea.
I don't know how to spell it, but I read the R.A. Salvatore books as a kid. It was some of my favorite fantasy books. I grew up on reading a lot of fantasy books, and those were some of my favorites because it was just this dark elf who was trying to do good things while living underground with a bunch of skeezy dark elves.
I never had any exposure to like anything like D&D aside from like what I would see parodies of on like movies and stuff like that. The idea of tabletop gaming always fascinated me, but I never like read the books or played any of the video games specifically. I did see the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is garbage, but it's got some fucking grade A Jeremy Irons ham. You can see the the scenery between his teeth. It's great.
When I was growing up, I mean, this is because you grow up with nerd parents. It's like they're Trekkies, and my mom played D&D in high school. So she knew D&D things.
Okay, good. So it wasn't one of those things, because I knew you grew up religious, and the amount of times I hear people who grew up religious were just like, you're not allowed to play D&D.
No, my mom was It's like, my mom was. We grew up religious, but like my mother was never like, Magic the Gathering, what the fuck? That was definitely never the type of Christian we were.
Sin in laminate.
Yeah, no. My wife's parents, though, they all the time thought that the kids playing Magic the Gathering was like bringing spells into the house, and they let it go because there was so many kids in my wife's family. There's 7 of them. She's the youngest of 7. So
you can't stop the tide.
Yeah, you can't stop the tide. So they would just come in like bless and then leave while they're playing like Magic the Gathering. And you're just like, okay. But no, my mom was not like that. She was big into D&D in high school. So when I, was looking for fantasy books, she knew what the Forgotten Realms were.
Yeah.
She may have not known the books, but she knew the setting, so that's the reason why it was such an easy pickup, because it was like an easy recommendation.
But yet you've never actually played like the actual game, the actual tabletop game.
I've played D&D twice.
I've
played it twice. It's about finding, you can't find a group.
It's so fucking niche.
Yeah, it's that, and like sometimes you'll find a group for like a little bit, and that's it, and then they're gone. You know, like
Yeah.
and then it never happens.
Scheduling
again.
conflicts is the biggest thing.
Yep, because there's always somebody who can't show up on Tuesdays.
How it started was like people in my Discord who I've known for years. They've been like my online buddies for like a decade now, and we were always interested in it, but none of us knew how to do it. So. But then we started watching D&D related stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big College Humor fan. Like I've followed them since I was in college and like high school. Even as like the casts have changed and stuff. And one of the new cast members that they added was Brendan Lee Mulligan. He was like the big funny guy. Did you ever see the Tide CEO like video stuff like that? He's that guy.
He's funny.
So they put out their own D&D show called Dimension 20.
Nice.
And I was just like, I don't know. Oh my God, these episodes are like 2 hours. But I really like him, and he's the dungeon master. So I know it's at least going to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I started watching it, and now I'm fucking addicted.
Nice.
And then I started getting other people into it, and then it became a thing of like, you know what? If we're going to do this, we're just going to have to fucking learn it and do it ourselves. Yeah. And that's basically what happened. I'm in the middle of a campaign right now.
Nice.
I play an albino birdman named Argento.
Very good.
He's a Kenku. He's like a giant. He's like a 4'6" raven. He has tunnel vision. He wears like fitted goggles. He likes to tinker.
And I know so many people are jealous right now hearing this, that you get to have a group together to play D&D.
Yeah.
Because that's really it. I think that's the hardest bit.
And even then we deal with like scheduling conflicts. There was a period where we didn't play for like a month.
Exactly.
Because of everyone's like job.
It's about not letting it fade. It's exactly like podcasts. Mm-hmm. Sure, you can miss them once, but don't let it pod fade. You know, like don't let your game fade away. Come back, try to play.
The thing I love about like the tabletop experience is that it has more flexibility than anything you could find in an actual video game.
Yes,
in the sense that it's,
the only thing more is LARPing.
Yeah, it's all just based on how you decide to play, what your decisions are, what you get on a roll, and the fact that you can just go on weird tangents and it's fun. And it's basically it's like interactive team storytelling.
Exactly.
And that's the fun of it. One day we can be like infiltrating a place and we find a bunch of racist Kenku. And then another day one of our players decides to sideline the campaign for 20 minutes to go to a brothel. And then the dungeon master makes him pay for it by giving him an arcane STI.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous. That's what's so fun about it. It's so open. You definitely don't get that experience with the Idle Champions game. It's definitely like we're using the champions.
What do you mean I can't get an arcane STI in this game? Like, what good is it?
It's definitely just playing within the universe of D&D. But what I love about it is that it's a very strategic game, which I always love.
Yeah.
If you listen to the podcast, you know I'm a big sucker for anything strategy. And then being able to walk away while I do all my webcasts, because that's what I do professionally. If you guys didn't know, I do webcasts.
Just outing yourself while you're slacking on the job.
Yeah, and it's like at least I can have this next to me and just kind of like be able to play a game even though I'm busy all day long.
Yeah.
You know, and that's nice.
And the thing is, even with the tabletop game, there is a learning curve. Yeah. Like, it's good to get the player's handbook. If you want to DM, then you have a lot more work to do.
It's true.
Because you're balancing a game. You're creating a game, especially if you're going full homebrew, as opposed to working off a preset, which we're going full homebrew with the next one. Like we're doing
this one was a book story.
This one was based on a book.
Nice.
Yeah. Next time we're doing full homebrew and we're doing like a Monster Mash thing.
Nice.
Where like it's kind of Castlevania where we're trying to like plunder Dracula's castle for like treasures and stuff.
That's fun.
And we're trying to make like the party members all like horror archetypes. So I immediately was just like, I'm playing a slasher.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I have like this Michael Myers type character.
Nice.
Who's like this faceless undead like greaser biker with like brass knuckles and a chain.
Nice. That's awesome. That'll be fun. That'll be a good game. I mean, where else do you get that? That you basically get to create your own game.
Yeah, even the Dimension 20 show has like different seasons. The first season is Fantasy High, where it's like it's the typical like fantasy tropes and races, but it takes place in a high school. It's very John Hughesy.
Yeah.
The second one they did was The Unsleeping City, which took place in New York, and it was very like Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere stuff. Where there's just like there's the city, and then there's the unsleeping city, where magic reigns, but normal people, all the muggles, cannot see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did a side quest where it was like a huge Lord of the Rings riff. They did one that was like the Burrowers.
That
No,
sounds,
it's
I mean, it sounds pretty
ridiculous.
good. I'll have to check it out.
Their
at
latest
some
one
point.
was called A Crown of Candy, where it was basically what if Candyland, but with Game of Thrones style politics, and it's great.
See that, like, and also that's what's so interesting about D&D is it's a different way to do storytelling.
Yeah.
Like it's as much as I appreciate that.
It's something that you
like-
can't like get anywhere else, and that was like the appeal of just watching it. I'm like, I really want to play this and infer my own thing onto it.
Yeah.
I want to play a crazy Birdman.
I want to play Crazy Mermaid.
We've been talking about gaming for a while. What have you been watching?
So what did we finish? We finished Space Force. We finally finished Space Force. Got the last episode in. Pretty solid. I liked Space Force.
That's all right.
I wasn't
good.
going in being like this is going to be the next Office because obviously that's not it.
Yeah, it's kind of like going into Disenchanted being like, this is going to be Futurama, but for fantasy.
Yeah.
If you go in with those expectations, you're like,
Yeah.
If you go in
Being
kind of
like, it's the
level-headed, you're just
same
like, yeah,
creator.
this is pretty good. This is pretty good. And plus, it's not like Simpsons and Futurama came out of the gate like amazing.
Exactly. But Space Force, I thought was really. It made me laugh out loud constantly, and I think that's because I was in ROTC as a kid, so like I get the military jokes, and I have a military family, so it's like military jokes make me laugh.
I almost went into ROTC, and my dad was just like, nope.
No.
And now I thank him for that
Yeah.
because looking back, I would have been miserable.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I was, but I could get dressed in that uniform in under a minute. I could do it.
So I'm glad he said no. And at the time, I was like mad for like a day. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then immediately I was just like, you know what? That is probably a
it's
good
probably
idea.
a good idea. No reason to just send your kid off to war for no reason.
Basically, that was his thing. He's just like, no, they're not going to try and like pull a wool over your eyes and try to get you in this way.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
But Space Force, pretty damn funny. I think Steve Carell's doing a great job. I think what I admire is how much the show deals with. Like it's not afraid to deal with some awkward topics, which is surprising for the show. Like I just expected some Steve Carell slap comedy, and then for them to be like,
Who's working on Space Force? Isn't it Greg Daniels?
yeah,
I know it's not Michael Schur because Michael Schur had like The Good Place
Yeah.
and he has Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's Greg Daniels, and I think the cast is great too. I think it's just like so well done. I can't. Well, I'm thinking of something else that I've watched. What have you been watching?
I watched all of Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
shit.
first 2 seasons. It's really good.
Yeah?
It's fucking funny.
I want to get on that, but I don't have HBO Max yet.
Yeah. And speaking of HBO Max, there was like that announcement of all like those DC layoffs.
Yeah. Shit.
Especially for the streaming service. Like basically all the big heads who worked on the streaming service
Really?
are basically out.
Oh, God.
So it pretty much says what everyone predicted. Like that shit's gone and everything that was
Gonna go
on
to
there is
HBO
just going to go
Max.
to HBO Max.
Yeah.
It was already slow going.
DC Universe Online was a
Not
big...
DC Universe
Sorry,
Online. That's the
That's
MMO.
the game. But DC Universe, whatever you want to call
It's
it.
just DC Universe, the streaming service.
It was a testing service for HBO Max anyways.
Yeah.
Because HBO was already doing HBO Go, and that was obviously
And don't get me
successful, but
wrong,
they
like-
had to make sure that their DC content would fly on its own.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge DC head.
Yeah.
Like, that's my preferred universe. I love that shit. And the fact that it was solely focused on that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Not only was it just original content, but
the old
it
stuff.
was old shows, it was old movies, new movies would tend to go on there, and it was digital comics.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is a great service, but it's too damn niche to sustain itself.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
said from the beginning. I'm like, how much lasting power does this actually have?
Yep, and I'm not surprised. I definitely will get HBO Max if all the DC stuff heads over there.
It's all slowly heading. I mean, Doom Patrol was the first thing to carry over. Now Harley Quinn is there.
I need
so
to hop on Doom Patrol.
It's just a matter of
I've
time
heard
before
good
like
things. The anti-fanboy guys.
it's
freak
just a
out
matter
about
of
it.
time before they're just like, okay, here's Young Justice,
Yeah.
here's all their other stuff.
It's because
Harley Quinn is good.
Harley Quinn's good.
The
I
first
want to watch it.
The first couple of episodes, I would say like 2 or 3, kind of try too hard.
Yeah.
And then they find their footing.
Okay.
Because out the gate, they're just like, yo, this is an adult show.
Yeah, they're like, hey,
I'm going to say the F word. And it's
they're just so excited. They're like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna fucking swear.
Yeah, it's a little much when it first starts, but then it like levels out and becomes
That's
its own thing. It's so damn funny.
That's funny.
And it shines a light on like characters, and I like how they reinterpret certain characters.
Okay.
Like King Shark is probably my favorite cast member in here.
Yeah?
He's voiced by a black guy. And he's just like this really affable, warm dude who's like a techie who like used to work for tech companies, but everyone assumes that he's like a crazy man because he's a literal shark man.
That's wild.
Like when he's first introduced, it's just like, was that a shark joke? Because if so, it's very funny.
That's great. Oh man.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
I was never against it. I definitely wanted to jump on it. It was just only on DC, so I was like,
yeah. Like every time I saw like a clip from it on like
wow.
social media and stuff, I always thought it was funny and I really wanted to watch it. And I went through the whole thing, and it's really good. And I like how it's not afraid to like really shift the status quo.
Yeah.
Like without giving anything away. Like I'm not going to say how it happens, but by the end of season 1, Harley basically rules Gotham.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're just like, well, where the fuck do we go from here? And they're also like straight up killing off certain villains.
Characters.
Certain like big name villains, and I don't think they're coming back, so it's really funny.
Yeah, you're like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
It definitely pulls a lot from like the Amanda Connor, like Jimmy Palmiotti, like Harley Quinn stuff, but it's still definitely its own thing on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so. Speaking of animated shows, I've been diving into Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are on the last book.
I've been watching it with my mom. We the last time we watched it was like 2 weeks ago, and we finished book 2.
You finished book 2.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much at the same spot. I just finished book 2. We're on
so there's only just the last season.
I just started the third book, so yeah, we're on the last season. This show is so well done.
It's definitely a discussion for like when we're done, because I kind of want to do a big topic on it. I do want a big topic,
but I want to bring it on to something important that happened this week. With the
live action show.
Yeah, with the live action show at Netflix, the original creators of this wonderful show that has been endlessly successful because of their direction, have stepped down from the Netflix live adaptation. I'm sure you've seen the news. We're not breaking the news. We're just talking here.
Yeah.
And basically, I tweeted it out at Netflix. I was just like, then don't make it. That's how I feel about it. Don't make your fucking Avatar show if you can't make it with the creators of the original show. Don't. Because if you think you have a different vision than the original guys, you don't have a vision. You have something stupid.
I would rather be wrong, but to be honest, even with the original creators involved, I hear live action Avatar, and I'm just like, yeah, we tried that. And sure, we live in a world where we live in a world of reboots where if something's bad, don't worry. 10 years from now, we'll just get it rebooted, and maybe we'll get it right the next time.
I worry about... So, the thing that made me kind of furious is that I heard it's because the original creators wanted to cast a diverse cast, and Netflix goes, no, we want big names, and we don't care if they're white or not, and that's my problem right there. So we have a show that emphasizes diversity and traveling the world and really meeting people of all different types and backgrounds, and then they're going to cast all white people like they did in the original live action movie.
That was the weirdest thing about the live action movie to me. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say weird. There's a lot of weird things about this because I've never actually fully seen it.
Really?
Because I never got.
I went to the midnight
because
premiere.
I didn't get into Avatar
in person.
I didn't get into I never watched Avatar as it was airing, except for like the occasional episode, which I later found out were like the worst ones, like The Great Divide.
Yeah.
I'm just like, so as a kid, I'm like, what do you mean this show's this good? I just happened to watch the worst example to try and get me into it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it until Korra had just started, and I thought Korra was really dope, but I felt like it's like, shit, if I need to watch the original now.
Yeah,
so I did back the first time it was on Netflix before they pulled it down, which we tend to forget now.
Deshaun's an original hipster. He saw
when he was on Netflix originally. How soon we forget.
I also want to point out I'm not watching this on Netflix. I'm watching it on.
Yeah, I have my Blu-ray set too.
Because they're just gonna take it down.
Yeah, eventually. So by the time I had gotten to it, the movie had already come and gone, and I had no stake in the show. So why would I watch it?
Why would you watch it? Yeah.
And The moment people started comparing it to like Dragon Ball Evolution, I knew that when I did watch the show, I'm like, I just don't need to watch that.
Nope. I've
seen so many reviews and like video essays on how bad it is. I'm like, I have the gist. I need to watch it.
Went and saw it midnight premiere. I was sitting next to a kid who had shaved his head to look like Aang or Ong, and he cried at the end of the movie. So that's sad. And then it was the only movie I've ever gone to where nobody clapped at the end. Which is a very white thing to do. We clap in New Hampshire. I don't know if you know this. But somebody stood up and said that sucked, and we clapped for him. So that and the entire theater erupted for him. Like this was.
That's funny. That's like, oh man, that's like that footage you see of like people who were like standing in lines to go see the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, right.
Those first guys
they're like, wow, it was such a good time. You know,
not even that, but like the guys who like they finally let them in and they like get on the floor to like yes, not knowing what they're about
to witness.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, I can't wait to see young Vader. And then they're like, nope.
But getting back on like the topic I was bringing up, one of the weirdest things about the movie was how they like race swapped the characters.
Yeah.
How they like made the Water Tribe like white as hell, and then they made the Fire Nation like Middle Eastern, which is kind of racist, but which is weird because M. Night is Indian. So I'm like,
it was such a weird choice by M. Night. Shamalama Dim Dong should have not been the choice for that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was riding on the high of his name from The Sixth Sense way back then when the man didn't even like The Sixth Sense is an okay movie.
Sixth Sense is a good movie.
It's a good movie, but it doesn't like it's not like it will go down as one of the good movies of all time. But all his other movies don't hit.
I'm a big fan of Unbreakable and Split.
I know you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I've not seen Unbreakable, so I can't talk about that. But I've seen everything fucking else. I
heard you said you've seen most of Split.
Yes, I've seen most of Split, and I've seen clips of Unbreakable, of course. And I get it. Like, it's definitely him doing really cool things. You know, like he's doing.
I think the issue with M. Night Shyamalan is that oftentimes he just gets way too far up his own ass.
Yeah, I think that's it.
He tends to work.
Avatar was a big suck.
He tends to work the best when he has like strict limitations. That's part of the reason I think Split worked was because he was given like a dime store budget and had to just make like a low budget, more or less horror film. Because he was kind of post Avatar, he was kind of in movie jail for a while.
Yeah.
So
which was fair.
Yeah.
That was
no one was giving him any like big projects at that point. He had just kind of moved to producing. So Split was kind of like, okay, I guess I have to go back to basics.
Yeah,
and
right.
with those limitations, it worked out. And then he got way too far up his ass again. And when Glass came out, and they're just like, there you go. You're falling into your old tricks again.
So, I mean, okay. So if we're going to go down M. Night's filmography,
it should be The Sixth Sense,
so
Unbreakable,
Signs, The Village, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Village is so you have Unbreakable and Signs.
Signs is good. Signs is good the first time.
Signs is good the first time.
The
Village is not good the whole anytime you watch it. Lady in the Water is not good anytime you watch it. The Happening is garbage.
It's the greatest unintentional comedy.
For some reason, they gave him After Earth after The Last Airbender. So we have Last Airbender and then After Earth, which just should have been called Afterbirth because it is like more terrible shit coming out of M. Night after Last Airbender.
After Earth was like the thing that really sealed the deal. I'm like, Jaden Smith can't act, guys. Stop trying to make Jaden Smith act, guys. Jaden Smith can't act.
I do like his new album, though.
Yeah, he's a pretty talented artist. And I've seen him in like good things, even if he was like the weakest bit. Like I really like The Get Down.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not the best actor amongst the crew in that.
And then a movie I actually didn't mind was The Visit.
The Visit's not bad. And Split I like.
And then Glass.
Oh my god. My thing with Glass is that I was into it and then the ending was so bad that it just kind of crumbled it.
Yeah.
Like the whole time I'm like, this movie fucking rules. I like this. This is just as good as like Unbreakable and Split was. And then I'm like, But I heard already that like the ending just ruins it. I'm like, you fucked up. I can see what you were trying to do. Like I see the idea on paper. I see what the framework was and how you were getting to it.
Right, you were
fell
there.
But you fell flat on your face as to actually executing it.
I don't think M. Night's a very good director. I think Signs.
I think he can be.
Sixth Sense, but it's Signs he did, and I think there's some really great aspects to him because he can, unlike JJ, if he asks a question, he usually wants to answer it. And that's what I do like that bit.
He is an interesting director to follow because I try not to get up on like petty grievances. It's just like, I don't like you or anything you've done, because it is sometimes interesting to watch directors who I enjoy, who arguably have hit and miss filmographies. You could argue that for people that like fun. Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Like, who's always been a divisive director.
Yeah, always been.
And I tend to enjoy his stuff. Yeah. He's definitely a voice I like to follow.
I would say David Ayer's one of those guys where you're like you have potential, but you got a lot of stinkers often. Like, he had the one right before Suicide Squad, which was Suicide Squad with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I forget what that one was called. That one was pretty good. And then he had End of Watch, which was pretty good.
Fury's pretty good.
And then Fury. But then I hear the new one with Shia LaBeouf is sort of strange. And I'm not going to pay $15 to see it.
He also wrote Training Day.
Yeah.
And he wrote it. Oh. He didn't direct it, but he wrote it.
But that's a well-written movie.
Yeah.
That's a well-written movie. And that's the thing. That's what cracks up about Suicide Squad. And that's why when people are like, I want to see the Ayer cut, which is not a thing. I'm sure, unlike Snyder, I'm sure most of this was not filmed because it was just them being like, no, you do as I say.
Yeah.
Instead of...
The Snyder Cut thing was a very specific set of circumstances.
It is. It's a weird situation. You would have never had that in many other places where a man was halfway through filming a movie and he had to step away. Other than if he fucking died, like AI.
Yeah.
That is literally like Spielberg being like, I'm going to carry Kubrick across the fucking finish
AI
line.
is such an interesting project to watch because it's Spielberg still with like his Spielberg style, but he's also trying to emulate Kubrick, and Kubrick is such a different mentality. Because Kubrick is a much like colder, sterile sort of. I wouldn't say intellectual because
instead of hopeful.
I wouldn't say intellectual because it almost sounds like reductive on Spielberg's part, but cerebral type of director.
I would say that.
So Spielberg's
like cerebral in a way, but he's like, here's the answers.
Yeah.
Instead of Kubrick's, which is cerebral, and he's like, but what about this?
Yeah.
Instead of Spielberg being like, okay, but there's aliens.
So
Here you go. They're nice aliens.
So it's a real interesting project that way. It's a weird one.
Yeah,
but I like
it.
It's a very interesting movie.
But it's just like Justice League in that way, where it's like it should have been one guy's project and it wasn't, and you kind of have to go, well, what would have been if it was that guy's project?
What we got for Justice League reminded me, and I think I've said this before, reminded me a lot of like the third Mad Max film.
Yeah.
Where
Thunderdome?
Yeah, Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Where George Miller's like basically like his partner throughout his entire career, like his co-writer, his partner, like often like his producer, had like died. I think he died in a plane crash.
Yeah,
and the problem is there was a whole plane crash like subplot in Beyond Thunderdome, and George Miller just didn't have it in him to like film that subplot. So it's weird. So like all the Thunderdome focused stuff is directed by George Miller, and then all the like Lord of the Flies desert stuff is done by a different director, and it feels like it's two different movies that don't mix.
And of course AI's different in that Stanley Kubrick had written it and then he brought it across. But like the Justice League is so strange because it's like he had a vision, it was all planned out, it was all going like this. And then it was like kind of like the studio stepped in to make their changes after he had to leave, that was super strange.
The fundamental problem with Justice League for me was like whether or not you enjoyed like this version of the DC universe that was built up with Man of Steel and BVS.
Yeah.
It was still a direction. And Justice League just trying to ignore that and retroactively act like it's has a completely different tone doesn't work because it feels forced. Yeah. Like it doesn't even Justice League doesn't even feel like it's in the same universe as the other two movies.
No, it doesn't.
Which sometimes it can work, but you have to work for it. Like there's a reason like Ragnarok basically killed off the cast of like the other two movies because they're just like we sort of have to do like a soft reset here.
Yeah.
But they had to work for it. Justice League just tries to do it without earning it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, that's the difference between Waititi and Whedon. You know, like, is that Waititi is a writer at heart. You know, like it's like that's where he started. You know, writing movies and stuff. That
is where Joss started as well.
But that was TV.
Yeah, he was a script doctor for a lot of his career before he started to like head up his own shows.
Yeah, and I mean he's done great things, Toy Story.
Yeah, amongst other things.
And I'm not discrediting Joss Whedon, but like this, they basically told him to do Avengers, and he did Avengers again.
Yeah,
and he kind of phoned it in.
And I don't think throwing anyone on that when it was basic, because they reshot like 40% of Justice League. And throwing anyone on there, you could have had the most talented filmmaker in the world throwing on a project that was like 60% done to try and haphazardly steer the ship in another direction to make the release date in a short amount of time. It was just going to be a shit show either way.
It's just weird. You can't. It's hard to replace a director. You have some great examples of replacing main actors. You have Back to the Future. They filmed 20% of that movie, and then we're like, not him. Like, you know,
it's the funny thing about the casting in that is that you can really tell that like the rest of the cast was based on Eric Stoltz, because when you look at Eric Stoltz, Crispin Glover
looks like him,
looks just like him. And like, I always forget that the actor who plays Lorraine.
Yeah.
But when you look at those two actors, you're just like, that does look like their son. They look like a combination of the two.
Definitely like a more perfect casting.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like Michael J. Fox looks nothing like
but
either
Michael J. Fox is perfect
that worked
Marty,
out.
and that's the problem. You know, like, is that it just is way better. But I think it's harder to replace a director in the middle of filming than it is.
Did you hear about like how different that film was going to be beforehand? Like there was like a story about that.
Yep, where it was just like the original script that he tried out for was completely different and all over the place, and you're just like, yeah. Sometimes
I mean, that's what happens.
To have later drafts,
yeah.
Like, you know, like it's sometimes a good thing.
Things shift.
Just to keep moving, you know.
What if I was so nuke focused? I'm like, oh, the 80s.
Right. Just like,
everything is nuclear.
Everything's nuclear. You're telling me this sucker's nuclear? Exactly. Like
every single time.
But what else? I haven't. That's pretty much it for what I'm watching at the moment. You know, because I'm moving, so a lot of things are going away.
How's the new apartment?
We have not moved yet, but it's a nice place. It's the first place I've lived in that's got amenities. So I got a giant pool. We got central AC, so that's
central
cool.
Air.
And,
no sin, no rapture is exquisite as central air. I always remember that quote from Dogma. It's great.
Exactly. You're like, damn. You're like, this is nice. And it's just it's the moving process right now. Everything's got to be packed up. And, you know, I just got new Criterion Collection DVDs, Blu-rays, so I'm trying to wait to pack those last, so that way they stay nice.
I got the Criterions for Grand Budapest Hotel, Marriage Story, and The Great Escape.
Oh, hell yeah. I got, so I had Swing Time before. I got that for my birthday, and then I just got The Killing, which, by Stanley Kubrick, because I had no clue Stanley Kubrick had done a heist movie. Like, I had no...
Yeah, I had never heard of it.
How did I miss a Stanley Kubrick? Like... It felt like one of the bigger gaps in my film knowledge I've ever had.
I mean, I guess it could be one of those. I guess it could be one of those things, kind of like Following.
Yeah,
but they're just like people usually consider Chris Nolan's first film Memento.
Yeah, instead of Following,
because Following is arguably like a film school project. Yeah. So I guess it could have been one of those things.
I'm curious to check this out.
But the Criterions for the ones I got were great. Grand Budapest Hotel is like this beautiful, like quirky little cover. Marriage Story doesn't come with much. I do like that it has like
nice looking.
And it does have some nice interviews and stuff as far as the special features are concerned. And what I love about it is, and they didn't even have to do this is why I love companies like Criterion and Shout Factory, is that they actually have the notes, like, writing good things about each other. Oh. They have that as, like, a little fold-out.
Oh, shit, that's nice.
It's so touching.
Shit, that's nice.
But speaking of physical media, did you hear about, like, Disney dropping the development of UHDs?
Really?
Yeah. which means by extension, Fox is dropping it too.
So what's that mean? What like?
As in, like they've just like ceased production on like 4K Blu-rays. I guess they're doing like a big swing towards digital, like full on. God. And then the problem is because Disney owns so much, if they do it, they own so much that they, by extension, they do it too. So not only is it Disney, they own Fox now, so Fox is doing it too.
And they got rid of the 20th Century Fox label this past week, which I feel like we should take a moment of silence.
I mean, it's still basically it reverted to the name it used to have before it was called Fox, because it used to be 20th Century Studios beforehand, or 20th Century Pictures. Now the Fox is gone, and now it's sort of just reverted back. But it's still weird to see. You grow up with that particular thing. I saw it for the first time in like the latest Kingsman trailer, and I'm just like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, what the fuck? 20th Century Studios. I'm like, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
I mean, it's sort of like when The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Pavlovian thing to like associate Star Wars with the 20th Century Fox like logo and music. So when it's just like Lucasfilm and then it cuts to a galaxy far, far away,
you were like,
it caught me off guard the first time because I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, where'd it go?
Yeah.
where'd the spotlights go? Like, I need that. But yeah, no,
it's a shame because I'm a big fan of physical media.
Of course, that's the point of the show. Warp shelf. We got shelves to fill.
I would rather own something and just own it, period, and not have to worry about like just owning the license to something and then the license goes away or the platform goes away and it's gone.
And I get it. It's so easy.
I get that.
I love my Switch and I love getting physical copies of the game, but sometimes it's nice to buy a digital game and not have to get up and change the game.
Yeah, I'm not a full elitist. It just depends. Like, if there's a better deal on digital, I will likely buy a digital.
Exactly.
And some games don't really need a physical copy.
I was thinking that with the Star Wars Pinball. It's on sale right now, and Star Wars Pinball, it's physically for $20, or right now it's digitally for $17. And I was like...
But game preservation is its own topic. That's like a big problem.
Yeah.
As far as like preserving history is concerned, because you have like remasters and ports, but sometimes there are like glitches that weren't in the original port, or like stuff that they had to change, or like licensed music that might have,
or like Scott Pilgrim just disappears.
Did you hear that Ubisoft just talked to Brian O'Malley?
Yeah, because he tweeted about it. Because he tweeted about it. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Brian O'Malley just went out and was like, hey, it's almost 10 years of Scott Pilgrim the movie, and that marks 6 years since it's been available for purchase, the game. And immediately the next tweet was like, Ubisoft reached out. And you're like,
There were already rumblings about it beforehand because
Ubisoft needs every fucking good story they need right now.
A few months ago, I remember someone like tweeted at Ubisoft, like, bring back the Scott Pilgrim game. And all they did was reply with like the thinking emoji. Or like the thing, they're like, So everyone was like, what?
What do you mean?
What? And now, like, months later, Brian Lee O'Malley's just like, Ubisoft just contacted me. I'm like, good. Fucking do it.
Fucking do it.
But then, like, licensing is a big issue.
Yeah.
Or even stuff like games I love. Like, one of my favorite games of all time is the original Crazy Taxi.
Oh, yeah.
It's my ultimate, like, just tune-out game.
Yeah.
I still play it. And I'm glad I still have the PS2 port specifically. Because it runs well, and it still has the original music. Every port afterwards
doesn't have the music.
It completely changed the soundtrack.
Oh, that sucks.
Not only that, but they took out all like the licensing stuff because there were actual locations and stores that you would drop people off at.
Yeah.
Like, take me to the KFC. Just we'll go. Drop me off at the Gap. But then they like had to change that all of it to make it just like generic locations, and that stuff bothers me.
Yeah, it's a different game.
Yeah.
At that point,
even with the Tony Hawk remaster coming out.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
which I hear the demo's good.
Yeah, that is a game I have pre-ordered just because it's a remake of a game I already know I love. But the cool thing that they immediately came out with are just like, we got most of the original music back.
Yes.
I think they said there were like 2 or 3 tracks that they couldn't get back.
It's probably taken so long to make this thing is probably music licensing. I highly doubt it was asking skaters to be in fucking Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
And given what I've heard, it seems like most of the important ones, like the fan favorite tracks, are all there.
Yeah.
Only a handful are missing, but they're also adding a bunch of new music to sort of like make up for that.
That's nice. As long as it's good.
I'm huge on.
All I need is Superman.
But stuff like the Superman's in there. Yeah, it's in there. It's in there.
Jammed to that
That
song.
was the first thing that everyone said when that
Everyone's like,
remaster
hey,
was.
goddamn Superman.
It better have Superman.
If you haven't checked out, they did a bunch of, for the quarantine, they did a bunch of live videos of their songs, and they did a version of that, which was it's if you don't remember, Superman slaps, and it slaps live in that.
There's been a few of those. Funimation has done like two things similar.
Yeah,
they did because I showed you the You Say Run thing.
Yeah.
Before that, they did the Real Folk Blues, which is the ending theme for Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
Where they had like a bunch of musicians and like voice actors collaborate on like not only a version of like a newly orchestrated version, but also like a remix or like rap and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it was super well done. So when they did the You Say Run one a couple of days ago, which is actually really Might You from the movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, if it's half as good as the Real Folk Blues one that they did, it's going to be great. And it was great.
Yeah, it was very good. I thought that was very funny. So that's. Is there anything else you kind of want to bring up on this filthy casual episode?
I don't know. What else have you been up to? The problem is you've been just so busy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is we're webcasts that everyone wants them. Everybody wants them right now.
I'm an unemployed broke bitch right now, so I have like plenty of time.
Yeah,
it's just been like, I'm gonna play Metroid. I'm gonna play this. I feel bad for Xenoblade because you let me borrow it, but then Last of Us 2, then Ghost of Tsushima, and I went like super hard on Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah. I could talk about Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it was good.
Fucking amazing. It's great. I loved it.
I've only heard good things.
Yeah, it's like an Assassin's Creed game, but it doesn't get boring.
See, there you go. Because that's what I would say my main problem with Assassin's Creed, the whole series, is that it gets fucking boring.
It kind of peaked at like Black Flag, but the problem is
and then they say that my friends say that it's completely changed at Odyssey, and either you like it, that's turned into an RPG basically, or you.
I mean, hey, if the franchise needed the shot in the arm, it needed the shot in the arm.
Yeah.
But playing Black Flag made me realize how much I actually really want like a well done pirate game. And Black Flag is that,
and Sea of Thieves is not it.
Yeah, and Black Flag is that, but I wish it just didn't have the Assassin's Creed baggage on it. But Ubisoft was making a pirate game, like a solely focused pirate game, that was literally just like, we loved what we did with Black Flag, but we just want to make its own game without it having Assassin's Creed attached to it. I forget what it was called. It was like something sales, like Black Sales or something like that. It was announced at E3 like years ago, but we haven't really heard much about it.
Yeah, and at the moment with Ubisoft, with all their CEO departures and sexual allegations against them, you kind of go, shit, you guys need anything good to go for you guys.
But the problem is, so few of what they make I actually give a fuck about.
Yeah, true.
Every time an E3 comes out, I'm just like, you got a new South Park for me? No. You got a new Rayman for me? Why are you here?
Why are you doing here? That's true. Why hasn't there been another Rayman for Switch? Rayman Legends is very good.
Fucking loved Rayman Legends.
But it's a port, you know, like
it's a port of a Wii U game.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that I know for a fact that game sold bonkers on Switch. So why is there not another Rayman game already? You know, like where?
I have no idea.
Like where is that? Why are they sitting? Because they did the Mario and Rabbids, so you think like, okay, that made a fuckload of money. Where's the other games, you know, like where is this?
I don't know. Game companies are weird that way. It's weird that they don't like see the neon signs with fireworks behind them of just like, this is what people want.
Yeah,
it's like Konami, just like, you guys want more Castlevania games? Like, yeah, no shit, we want more Castlevania games. But instead, they're just like, the director of Symphony of the Night is just like, okay, if you're not going to make it, then I'm going to make Bloodstains.
Right, he's going to just make it
and the
himself.
amount of times we get it. And it's weird because if they just looked at the numbers, Metroidvania games specifically do super well. It's like indie's biggest thing now.
It's indie's biggest thing.
Like Metroidvanias. People love indie Metroidvanias.
That was the other game I played. I played Carrion. It is a Metroidvania, but you play as pretty much the monster from The Thing. Mm-hmm. You play as a giant amorphous blob with tentacles that just like grabs onto anything and rips them apart. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of fun. It's got a great soundtrack. You feel super overpowered because nothing basically stands in your way. There is obviously hard parts. You know, like there's obviously like some guys which will just beat you down. But then you just come back and you're like, all right, well this time I'll slither on top and then hit you with my tentacle and then you're done. And it's over.
It is nice to have a game where you like effectively play as what would be an enemy in another game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I immediately grabbed onto it. I know it's not that long. I've already played 3 hours, and I can tell there's probably like 2 or 3 more hours left. So it's not a really long game, but as we said earlier, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all.
Aside from that, like I'm trying to get back into Xenoblade.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where like Last of Us 2 was like really emotional.
Yeah.
And then Ghost of Tsushima was huge, and then I platinumed it. So like going from that, I think that's probably why I gravitated to Metroid, where it's like it's big, but it's short. It's doable.
Instead of being like, here's another 120-hour adventure.
Yeah, plus I've been itching to play GBA games anyway. Like, I want to jump into Golden Sun at some point, because I've had, like, nothing to play Golden Sun on. And that goes into film preservation.
Yeah.
Getting stuff. Because I'm one of those people, if it's a big franchise, even if the old editions are old, I like to try and play as early as possible.
Yeah. I feel
even if it's anthology. I played Arena. I played Daggerfall. I played Morrowind, then Oblivion, then Skyrim.
See, I have not. I played Morrowind and Skyrim. That's pretty much it. I did not play any of the other Elder Scrolls
Morrowind
games.
was better than Oblivion. Skyrim.
I mean, I played Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim.
Morrowind was better than Oblivion, but Skyrim was better than Oblivion. So it's just like it's like a zigzag.
Is really bad. They finally released Blades on Switch, and it's not good.
So
if you wanted Skyrim but with none of the control, Blades is for you.
Man, I'm eager to see what they do with 6. I'm just excited for a 6 just because I like
that's never coming. This is another thing that's never coming.
Oh, it's the Avatar 2 of gaming.
Avatar 2 of gaming.
It doesn't exist.
Elder Scrolls 6.
It doesn't exist. It's fake.
It's fake. It's not real. It's gonna keep being pushed back.
It's just a matter of just like, look, I like Skyrim.
They announced the Halo pushback, and I was kind of like, you might as well just throw in fucking Elder Scrolls 6 also. Be like, yeah, I know we didn't say a date, but we're pushing it back.
I like Skyrim, but I got real sick of Bethesda pushing it so goddamn hard.
Yeah. True enough.
Because I did enjoy it. And the thing is, my beef with it was like all the fucking perfect scores and 10 out of 10s and stuff like that. I'm just like, guys, this game has fucking problems.
It's glitchy.
I know
you can't give it a 10.
It's a Bethesda game. It's glitchy as fuck. So when people get up in arms
I'll give it a real close 9. I really will. It's a big, expansive game.
Yeah, but
I love the game.
I gave it an 8 way back when.
Yeah.
When all the Fallout pun intended, came from like 76.
Yeah.
We're just like, you guys really expected the guys who made like the Fallout games and the Elder Scrolls games, which are like rife with glitches, game breaking, soft locks, and so much like lack of polish. You expected them to make a tight MMO?
Yeah,
are
right.
you kidding me?
Like, no. And an MMO can be really messy, even in of itself. So just having them all there, just like, you're just like, no.
So I think that was like the first thing to be like, okay, we kind of see behind the veil now. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's why every time Bethesda publishes a game, instead of developing it, like Doom, it always has like so much polish than their actual in-house stuff.
Mm-hmm. I love Doom. Where's my Doom Switch?
I still need to play Eternal.
I want it on Switch.
Not everything can be on Switch, Frank.
It was announced for Switch. I pre-ordered it. I got pre-order things because of it. I literally have, when it came out on every other system, they because I had the pre-order of it, they sent me the Blu-ray case of it, which and that's what cracked me up. I'm literally saying it's a case for Doom Eternal, but it's only for a disc.
I remember you sending me pictures.
You can't even
for
put the Switch cartridge in there unless it's just going to be like inside this metal case. You're just like, what the fuck was situation. This? Such a weird situation.
I wonder if the Tony Hawk remaster is going to go on there.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know that this is a big push for the next generation, and then also for the current gen. It's supposed to send out the current gen and welcome in the new.
As far as the PS4 specifically is concerned, Ghost of Tsushima was definitely like
a
combination of Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima were just like goodbye PS4, which makes sense because Last of Us pretty much did that for the PS3. That came out like right at the end of that life cycle.
It's true enough. I know I'm such a Switch head, but I am really thinking about the PS5. I know I don't buy other systems purposefully because I buy so many games for Switch. So I purposely wasn't buying any PS4.
But the thing is, it's a gap.
It's a big
It's
gap.
a huge
if
gap.
You look at I saw a screenshot the other day of Spider-Man, which I think is a gorgeous game, compared to Miles Morales, which the jump in graphics is intense.
Yeah.
Like
Spider-Man only just came out like 2 years ago.
Exactly. That's what cracked me up about it is I've seen screenshots that look so gorgeous coming out of Spider-Man, and then you show me one screenshot of Miles, and you're like, holy fuck, that's way better.
Like you are missing here's the thing. The Switch is a really good system, but
I love my system.
As far as the stuff that's like changing the game, no pun intended, that's like really pushing the medium forward.
Yeah, because no one's saying fucking Origami King's pushing the fucking envelope at all.
And even stuff like Breath of the Wild, as great of a game as that is, it's not really pushing that genre forward. It suffers from a lot of problems we got over on other platforms.
I love Nintendo, but there's no denying they have the strongest first party catalog. There's as much as I love PS4 and Xbox, you can't compete with Mario, Zelda.
They're the biggest names.
Pokemon, you can't compete with those. And Animal Crossing now, with Animal Crossing being one of the most sold video games of all fucking
Animal Crossing
time.
was already really big, but they just had the perfect timing of just everyone's stuck at home and they need to zone out.
I know. And as a guy who owns Nintendo stock, I was like, yes, yes, buy the Switch. But I understand that they are not pushing the envelope the way they should, and I would love to eventually get to the PS4 games that really did move the needle a little.
I mean, that's probably...
But the PS5, I know, will have those games.
Yeah, it'll have backwards compatibility. It'll likely go for what Xbox did, where it'll be a set number that they continue to update over time with patches. But there's stuff you definitely need to catch up on. I would recommend, especially since when the 5 comes out, it's not really going to have much in the way of big party titles, I don't think, because never buy a console at launch.
No, I'm not buying it at launch.
Because one, that's where they work out the kinks. You always hear the horror stories. Wait for the second shipment. Wait for when they sell out a shitload and then they start to come back.
My Switch, I have first generation Switch, and as much as I love my Switch, this one is broken. Because I go to friends who have the new Switch one, and when you put it into their dock, it's so nice. It fits so well in the dock, and mine's like blah, 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 in the dock, which is not what it's supposed to do. It moving around, and I have before had to send the Joy-Cons in for fixing. Both sets I
sent mine in for fixing.
So it's like. And I definitely know it runs hot sometimes. Definitely, you can feel it, when I leave it on something and then I pick it up, you can, feel the spot. It's like,
I keep mine docked most of the time.
I with the Idle Champions game, I
know
handheld.
You tend to bring your Switch, places.
Everywhere.
I don't because it's too fucking expensive and too big.
It's not... Okay, if you're talking an actual piece of equipment, that's not that expensive. If we're talking, what I run around with at all times, which is, a laptop, a camera, several cameras. True. But my cheapest thing on me is the Switch.
But it's just a matter of portability.
True.
It's a quote-unquote portable system, but I can't put that shit in my pocket.
No, that's what I always loved about the 3DS, is that if I wore big enough pockets, I could fit that shit in that pocket.
Yeah. My 3DS is... If this... Metroid kick of mine doesn't stop, that 3DS is about to get some more attention.
Get some more love.
Are
you going to get that? You got to get Samus Returns then, right?
I played Samus Returns, but I don't own it.
Oh, yeah. And I know they sell it with the
And to be honest, I was thinking about, once I finish Zero Mission, I kind of wanted to play the games in order.
Yeah?
Because Fusion is basically Metroid 4. When you start the game, it says Nintendo presents Metroid 4.
Yeah.
It does the same thing for Super Metroid. It says Nintendo presents Metroid 3.
Yeah.
So I'm just I could get Samus Returns, because I am not playing the original Game Boy version of Metroid 2. That shit is gross.
Nope, don't need it.
But I could also play AM2R.
Yeah. Sorry, abbreviation. Say it for me.
Another Metroid 2 remake. It's a fan remake.
What?
Yeah, you never heard of AM2R?
No, what?
It's fan-fucking-tastic.
What?
It's actually better than the official remake they made.
What?
Yeah.
No.
I played both, dude. I can
Yeah?
tell you.
And it's good?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Because Nintendo made sure you didn't
make sure
heard
you
of
didn't
it.
hear about it.
So there have been a million
of
attempted
course.
remakes of Metroid 2 because it's an old game. It was on the
And
Game
it's
Boy,
shitty.
Metroid on Game Boy. Yeah.
It's-
And it got to the point where like this latest project was called AM2R, as in another Metroid 2 remake, as a joke that there's been so many.
Yeah.
But this was like a huge passion project that actually had a lot of polish. It knew not only to be a remake of Metroid 2, but to also incorporate elements from like the Metroid games that were leading up to that point.
Nice.
So it knows like, here's the best elements of Zero Mission, here's the best elements of Fusion, here's the best elements of this, here's stuff from the Prime games. It's still like a 2D side-scrolling game. A lot of polish, super well made, and I'm just like, wow. This feels like an official game, and it also feels like it's actually bringing the series forward.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
It got to the point where, like, the Game Awards were actually going to give it an award for, like, best fan creation, and Nintendo was like, nope.
Nope.
So
There
they're
is
like,
no such thing
so
as
they,
fan
so they, like,
creations.
DMCA'd the fuck out of it, so it's really hard to get now.
So, I mean, we could do a whole episode on fan creations, I feel like, because let me take the devil's advocate here. As Nintendo, you would not want a fan creation, even if it's fucking good, to be out there. Because first off, legality-wise, they can't cover their asses. Say that game says ass in it somewhere, and then a parent is sitting behind a kid as they play it. They think Nintendo put out that game, and it says... something, anything could have happened in the game, and that or any of these games.
And to be fair, that it's their property.
Yeah, it is.
But it's one of those things you're like, it'd probably be more productive to like look at this talent
and work with them.
Work with them.
No, absolutely. That's not my.
That's more or less
that's
how
not my point.
That's more or less how we got Sonic Mania.
Which Sonic Mania is absolutely amazing, and that's the way it should be treated. Is that they should look at these guys who are putting this major effort in, and then they should play these fan games. It's like of course the lawyers have to throw the DCA at them, but like I feel like the main creators should play these fan games, because if anybody at Pokemon had actually played one of the Pokemon MMOs at some point, they would have been like, oh shit, Sword and Shield's not up to snuff even to this. Like, why we should take this further.
that's the thing.
It's
It shocks me even when I say it that AM2R is better than Samus Returns, because it's a fucking fan-made game that still has like the Super Nintendo /GBA graphics as opposed to Samus Returns. It's like 2.5D. There's a lot of money thrown at it. The fact that a fan-made game, because I played AM2R first and then went to Samus Returns, I'm like, it shocks me that a fan-made game is better than this. And Samus Returns is good.
Yeah.
But there's just like the love and attention and like the solid mechanics are just like, wow. It's really hard to get your hands on now, but if you can, it's really fucking good.
I don't, and I'm not saying that I'm against fan games. I'm just against, as an artist, you start off your life wanting to emulate the stuff you love. I made a zombie film right away. I did the stop things from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, because I love that movie. Every one of my early films have the whoosh, and then it freezes, and the name comes up, and then whoosh, and then they're off. Like, every one of them had that bit. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I made sort of fan films, and so does everyone else. Everyone wants to emulate what they have. But as an artist, at some point, as a growing artist, you realize that making something out of something that you did not create, does not help you.
Yeah, that's the same for like me as a writer with fan fiction.
Yeah.
I used to write fan fiction as a kid. And to be honest, like the book I'm writing now was originally fan fiction back in high school, but then I just turned it into something wholly different.
Exactly.
Because that tends to be what happens. Like, you should just turn it into something your own.
Because
fan fiction is just
there's
like,
really not a problem with something being really close to
it
something
can be
else,
a good stepping stone just to like get those creative juices going, but if you stick with it, it's just going to hinder you.
Yeah, I know a lot
There's
of filmmakers
there's
who
nothing to be
constantly
gained
make
for it.
Batman fan films, or or people who make the Indiana Jones sequels and stuff like that. It's like, these are very commendable projects, and I'm not against them, But as an artist, you should realize that first off, it's better to own your things instead of taking somebody else's. You should own your own because then you have the power.
And plus, you add like your own input to like stuff that's like fan created anyway. Most of the time, to the point where it doesn't really resemble the original stuff anyway. So why not make it your own thing?
Why not make it your own? And I'm sure that's how so many terrible youth novels have started. It's that they've started as fan fictions and then transformed. But
like the stuff I'm writing is just like a big fantasy novel because my thing is like, why don't enough fantasy novels have anime bullshit in them?
Yep.
Just like I want Dragon Ball Z level style sword fights. And no books are giving me that, so I'm going to fucking write it.
Exactly.
It started off as like, this is Dragon Ball Z fanfic, but with swords. And I'm like, just like, but that's not really what Dragon Ball is.
Exactly.
And then it just became its own thing.
Exactly. And I don't, and I think that's important, is to realize that, you know, like, and kind of make your own thing. So these fan games, I encourage young artists to do them. I do, like all these fan fiction stuff, but I do not encourage it after a certain point because you're just
it's something
like
it's something like AM2R, which was mostly done by one guy.
Yeah,
it's just like you have so much talent and polish put into this. Like I would love to support you with something official.
Exactly, and that's the whole argument is that now he's got a whole game that's got polish and love in it. And it goes nowhere when he could have just made
and it's a huge
and it could have
gone to be honest somewhere. Like he's not bitter about it.
No,
he said like I knew this wasn't my property. This just started off as a love letter, turned into something more, and now I have the experience.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's the important part about these fan things. But you shouldn't take it as I know guys who take it too far. You know, like with Batman fan films or something like that.
Look, man. Like, the only time you're gonna have me like write about Batman is if I'm officially hired to like write something Batman, and even then I'd be fucking terrified.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like even though it would be the greatest opportunity if DC for some reason a nobody was just like, hey, do you want to write Detective Comics or write the official Batman book? I'd be like, yes, but actually no.
Yeah, but no. I mean, we've kind of gone on a little tangent here.
Have you been reading anything?
Reading anything? Wait. I read the Overwatch. I got the anthology.
You fucking nerd.
I know. But I was wondering because the game doesn't give you too much story. It gives you bits and pieces, and you're kind of just like. And I've seen all the animated shorts and everything, so I was kind of like, well, what's more? Mm-hmm. And I picked up the anthology because it had some good writers on it. It definitely did. And they're just little short stories. They were just like, and my whole problem with it is that it was the hardcover book was advertised as, oh, you will get the backstory of all the characters from Overwatch. And then in reality, you get short stories from like half the characters. Yeah. And you're like, I love these characters, but what about those guys? You know, like you're like, what about the other half of you people?
I am still on that audiobook life.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to like the Dresden Files.
Nice.
Super good.
Nice.
It's basically like detective noir stuff, but a wizard.
Yes, but a wizard.
It's great. It's just like crime thrillers, but what if the detective was a wizard? Just like, all right, let's go.
All right. That one's Jim Butcher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's good. He's solid.
Super good. And I love that like James Marsters is the narrator because I'm a huge fan of James Marsters from fucking Buffy and other stuff. So that's great. I've been reading. I have like a book club going on my Discord.
Nice.
We've been reading Y the Last Man, so I'm going through that again. That's fun. It's so fucking funny, like how politically relevant that book still is, even though the jokes are like decades older. There's still some shit I'm like, wow, that still tracks.
Yeah,
that's still fucking funny. And then aside from that, I'm like trying to read Watchmen again. I'm like slowly getting through that because we want to do the Watchmen episode later.
Yep. Little tease.
And after that. It's just been fun.
You did Neil Gaiman, right? You did the Sandman.
The Sandman audiobook was great.
Yeah?
I mean, it's not even an audiobook. It's an audio drama at that point.
Which is pretty cool.
But it was super good. James McAvoy's fantastic as Morpheus.
Yeah?
He is so fucking good.
Nice.
Everyone's great. The only misstep for me was Kat Dennings' death.
Yes, you said that.
Because the problem is, I don't mind Kat Dennings, but she's really good at just playing like vapid girls.
Yes.
And that's not really deaf to me, and that's what she sounds like.
Yeah.
She's also like not the best.
I do love Kate.
She's also not the best actress like in the cast, and it shows. She just kind of sticks out.
Yeah.
To be honest, hearing her as deaf, I think they missed the boat, and I'm like, you know what? Listening to her, I'm like, she would actually be better as Delirium.
Oh, yeah, because she would have been a little bit lost.
Yeah.
Like,
she would have been actually great for Delirium, but for Deaf, she doesn't really match.
My question, and I'm sure tons of people, is how much of the books do they go through?
They do the first 3 volumes, like straight up.
That's pretty cool. So, do they do an audio version of the diner?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And does it track?
Yes, it does.
Shit.
So
that's my favorite story, probably in all the comic books. That is absolutely frightening.
The Dr. Death stuff, like, that's amazing. And then, like, the confrontation with Dr. Death is already epic in the book.
Yep.
It was, like, cinematic, like, edge of seat in the actual audio drama. Because what they do is they translate all the dialogue and they have everyone with their assigned cast, like, read that. And then the interim stuff, where you can't really just, there's no text to, like, read like a normal audiobook. They have Neil Gaiman narrate it.
Nice.
And he, like, fills in the gaps, and it tracks, and it's great.
Oh, man. That sounds awesome to me. I'll have to hop on that. And that's the Audible, right? Not sponsored.
It's an Audible original, yeah.
Yeah, not sponsored. I wish.
I am really looking forward. I can't wait for, like, if they do. This seems like it's doing well, and they're advertising the shit out of it.
The shit out of it.
Like, I see it on Facebook all the time that they're advertising. Like, Audible original, The Sandman, here's another trailer. Because, I mean, they threw a lot at it. I'm super looking forward to another one, because then they'll get to, like, Season of Mist, which is my favorite.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. I will absolutely check it out. I know Mary
it's super well done.
Audible,
Stuff that's already, like, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like the Element Woman stuff.
Yeah.
Like that chapter.
Element Woman.
Yeah, that's in there.
Fuck, I forgot.
That's
God
in there.
Damn it,
it's heartbreaking.
I love that book, though. Like, it just makes you remember how good that book is. Like, I know I love Y the Last Man. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I read... what was the Preacher at the same time, but that was also that I was reading a little bit before that. I was reading.
You and I were both on, like, a kick, because most of the books were at our college library. So, like, I went through, like, a Sandman kick, then I moved on to Preacher, then I moved on to Y the Last Man, and you and I never got to finish Y the Last Man when we were in college. We both finished Preacher, though.
Yeah.
You had already read most of it.
Yeah.
Like, we both got to finish that. But I didn't get to finish Y the Last Man until I moved back to my hometown.
Yeah.
And then I did, and it was great.
I still haven't finished.
It was heartbroken. It was heartbreaking. I, like, openly wept reading the final issue.
Damn.
It was great. Fantastic. I love it when Brian K. Vaughan hurts me. But, yeah, it's super good. But comics, though, I've been reading Immortal Hulk.
Yeah?
I had the first volume because it was, like, on sale on Amazon digitally for, like, $6.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, fuck it. So I did, and I read it, and then I proceeded to, like, buy volume 2 and read that. And I'm like, fuck it, 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5, let's go.
So I've been reading that. That is super good. It's a Hulk horror book.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
What it tries to do is it tries to give, like... What they do is they actively address how many times Bruce Banner has quote-unquote died.
Yeah.
And come back despite the circumstances and despite what kills him. And what the intrigue is that is there a supernatural reason on this besides just, like, the meta of just, like, well, it's comics, so he has to come back.
Yeah, he has to come back.
Just, like, is there a supernatural explanation for this? Like, is there something deeper to, like, gamma radiation and, like, all the Hulks running around that we never knew about before? And so it really channels into that. And plus, Hulk is sort of an antagonist in this book.
Interesting.
Because they really dive into, like...
The Bruce's side?
Yeah, they really dive into the fact that Bruce has, like, dissociative identity disorder. So he has many different facets of Hulk. That's why there's, like, the Hulk who can barely talk, like Hulk Smash, etc. But then there's, like, the Joe Fix-It Gray Hulk. But then there's this. The one we have in this is called Devil Hulk.
Interesting.
Where he's, like, very vengeful and spiteful. But he also, unlike the other Hulks, actually loves Bruce.
Really?
And actually wants to protect him. Like, he thinks he's looking out for him.
Instead of just, like, keep down Bruce.
Yeah,
like...
stupid Bruce, puny Bruce. I don't like puny Banner. Yeah. He's like, I care about Bruce, and someone needs to look out for him because no one else is.
No one else is, yeah.
But he does some fucked up shit. It's crazy. There's this scene where they capture Hulk and they split him into pieces.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's still alive.
Oh, God.
Like, even with, like, a head in a jar.
Really? Jesus
And
Christ.
what he does is he's able to break through the glass, and all the pieces of Hulk, like, come back together, and he fucking kills a scientist who is experimenting on them and trying to torture them in his body.
Jesus Christ.
It's fucked.
It's
a good book.
That is fucked
Oh
up.
man, there's like this whole volume where like he goes to hell, and you're like, this is not what I thought I wanted.
Yeah,
from the
you're
whole
like, this
book.
isn't what
I
I
didn't
thought.
know I needed it though. Yeah, it's super. I had heard great things about it. I'm really,
Yeah,
I'm
that
down
sounds
for
very
it.
good.
I would love to talk about it, just like as a topic. I
Yeah.
could just have you log into my Comixology and just read it. It's
It
fucking
doesn't sound
good.
like a bad idea. I could do that.
But that's aside from that, that's what I've been reading.
Nice. Yeah, I have not been reading much. It's hard for me to read now. It's sad. It's like I used to read so many comics, and that's what the whole fucking show was. And now it's
At
like,
some point, I've been thinking about it. I want to do like a deeper dive into like Tom King's Batman run.
Yep.
But I want to worry about like after I'm done with like Why the Last Man, after we do the Watchmen episode, because I already have enough shit.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to. I'm right now sort of diving into the Sean Gordon Murphy stuff for Batman, but with White Knight and the sequel. But the reason why is because it's contained.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I don't have to jump on this long train.
That tends to be
you
the
know,
only
like-
like books I tend to buy physically now is usually indie stuff, like
Yeah.
self-contained stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you try to like stick with like the main series stuff, then it never ends.
It never ends.
You have to
And
be particular.
with DC, it's so slow on the trade paperback that you sometimes
annoying.
have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting.
I think I've heard they've gotten a little better about that, but they're still not as quick as Marvel.
No, and I'm
Marvel's
sure after
like
this month
as soon
they
as
will
like
not-
the arc is done,
Yeah, they're like, pub.
it's like here's a fucking trade next week. They're quick.
They're really quick about it.
But
yeah.
oh man, I'm still waiting for like a huge shipment of American Vampire.
Yeah.
Because once I heard that American Vampire is actually ending, like the next like set of issues is going to be like the finale.
Which is sad.
It's been going on for a
It's
while.
a long time.
And I hope you can stick the landing. And plus, I've fallen so far behind that it would be nice to like refresh
do a
myself
whole
and catch
thing.
up.
Yeah.
So I bought all the available trades.
Oh, nice.
And I got
What are they up to now? 7?
volume 8, I
enough.
think.
That makes sense. I think I got 5 as my last
I think like
one.
the last. I think it'll end with like 9 or 10 volumes altogether.
Nice.
Because he's like on and off with it because he had to like work on
Yeah.
Batman and focus on that. Plus he had stuff in the interim like Witches.
I also heard Witches might be made into a movie.
Yeah.
I know coronavirus put it on hold, but they were
heard that.
they were talking to Scott about that.
I still
That's
gotta
like-
watch the Umbrella Academy show.
I need to too.
I've heard
I'm
it's-
halfway through season 1 and I stopped for no really any reason. I liked it.
Yeah, I heard it was
Like-
fantastic. It just baffles me that they decided to make a full series out of what is effectively just
Yeah,
what
and-
used to be just 2 volumes. Now there's a third.
Yes, but then now they've done volume 1 and 2, and so that means season 3 has to be that third book, and then they also were talking about there might be an offshoot series, which you're like, about what? There is no other books, Gerard Way.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what Netflix is trying to do the same thing with The Witcher. They're just like, we're going to make a Witcher
So
prequel
that makes
series.
more sense to me. The Witcher prequel
It does.
series makes
It does
sense.
span a lot, but it's just like
Because
guys.
there's the thing about The Witcher is it's just Geralt, when in reality there's a lot of fucking universe going on there. You know, like there's a hell of a lot going on in the Witcher universe that he barely covers any of it. You know, so you're kind of like that makes sense. But in Umbrella Academy, you're like, we already did the beginning. And now we went back to the future, you know, like, so what are you doing next? You know, like, what are we
I
covering?
don't know, but it feels like they just jumped the gun way too soon.
Yeah.
Like, one season of a show, no matter how good it is, does not justify a spinoff.
No. And Witcher, you're saying, I don't, a spinoff, even, like, I get it, it's popular on Netflix, and they need their franchise.
And to be honest, sometimes spin-offs can work out to their better. There are some successful spin-offs where it's
do
so
better.
popular that you don't even realize it's a spin-off.
Yeah,
like
Frasier.
Yeah, Frasier. I didn't know for the longest time that Frasier was a spin-off of Cheers.
Yeah, it's wild.
And it's funny, then when I had my big binge like 2 years ago, I watched all of Cheers and Frasier. It's because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Really great shows. Funny as fuck. But watching Cheers definitely made me appreciate Frasier more because
Yeah.
it was just like what
Oh,
the
yeah,
span
here's his
the
character.
span and development of that character over the years.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's just, I think that's one of the funniest things. Is like, because most people just are like Frasier, and
Yeah.
then you're like, nah, Cheers.
But that didn't come until after Cheers was already done.
Yeah.
Even like Buffy with Angel, like there was 4 seasons of Buffy before you got a spinoff of that.
Yeah, and if any show should be able to do a spin-off, it's Doctor Who, and they've never successfully been able to do a spin-off.
They were in a good place for a bit with like the David Tennant run because there were two spin-offs that did go on for a couple of seasons.
Okay, so what did they have?
Then,
they had, what was that series called?
They had Torchwood and they had the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, which Sarah Jane Adventures, but Torchwood, pretty good.
Well, the thing about Torchwood is that it was Doctor Who's in the middle, where it's sort of all ages. Yep. Torchwood was for adults. Sarah Jane was for like really young kids.
Yeah.
So I don't judge it too much.
No.
But it was going on for a bit, and the only reason why it stopped was because Elizabeth Sladen died.
Yeah, which is sad.
Which is, good for it. But then the problem with Torchwood is that it's like peaks and valleys.
Yep.
The first season of Torchwood was okay.
Yep.
The second season was like marginally better. Children of Earth was fucking great. And then Miracle Day was trash. So it's just like, Oh, speaking of Doctor Who, though, the fact that Eccleston's coming back for the audio dramas.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's pretty great.
All I'm saying is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who is 3 years away. And if you got Eccleston to come back for the audio dramas, you want to do a multi-Doctor crossover, it'd be great to get Eccleston back since we couldn't get him back for the 50th.
50th, yeah.
And to be honest, as much as I would have loved him to come back for the 50th, I wouldn't have traded the War Doctor.
Yeah, no.
The War Doctor was only created because Eccleston said no, and I loved the War Doctor.
I love the War Doctor. John Hurt.
Rest in peace, John Hurt.
Fuck. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's just so good, and you're just like, damn, he's good.
That was one of like the bigger like, man, when he passed away.
Yeah, true enough. I hate. It's a sad one. So I mean, that's pretty much
we talked a lot,
guys. We talked a lot. I feel like we've gone on quite the tangent here at this point. So
these ones will be like the tangent episodes. Content warning,
tangent.
Nothing like triggering or anything, just like content warning, tangents.
But thank you guys for listening for our first Filthy Casual episode. I know it was a little loose, but I felt like it still feels like an episode. It still felt like we were discussing our things. So I feel like if you like this, please comment, let us know if you like this format more. And you were like, yeah, I like it when you guys don't talk about just Disney for 2 hours.
Just the one thing, and try to avoid talking about Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. It's definitely, if you like that, let us know. You know where to reach us. We're all over GalaxyGeek.com, but you can find us on Twitter as Yep Frank
and Mod Karika.
And you can also check out our Facebook page, the Galaxy.
Follow us on the gram as well. I've been real active on that lately.
Yeah, you have.
I think it's because one, Twitter's a cesspool and it's toxic.
Yes.
And two, there's no like character limit on Instagram, and I like that it's specifically picture focused.
It's true enough.
So it can just be like, hey guys, I've been playing a lot of Metroid for some reason. Here's where I'm at with that.
Here's this. I love, I mostly stick my Instagram to being photography though. So
you mostly do stories, I notice.
Yeah, so it's like, if I use Instagram, it's for the stories instead of me posting my photos.
Like actual posts.
Yeah, actual posts. So that's definitely, and I mean, if there's two things you want to get like the unfiltered Frank on, it's Twitter and Instagram stories, I would say, because those are the two that if you got, I share my most with, I would say, is those two places.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, Facebook is very like, this is a very determined image, like this. This is.
I see you commented on political posts so much lately.
Oh yes, I have been waking up in the morning and fighting people. I don't know why.
I've noticed.
I don't know why.
I don't have the energy.
I don't either. I don't know why. I just wake up in the morning and I'm like, I read a news article and then I'm like, fuck those racist fucks, and then I go find some of them on Facebook and fight them. And that I don't encourage that because it leads to you being just angry pretty much all day. But
there's really nothing to be gained.
Yeah, and you don't gain anything. You're not changing minds or hearts or anything. I just wake up wanting to frame broil some racists. So I just, that's my problem right there.
Flash fire.
Flash fire. But guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening in again, and please talk to us. We want to hear from you. Yep. And please subscribe.
Yep. See you next time.
Adios.